I'm Mike Lomsak. For years we've taken and packed bearings for the old-fashioned way. It's been going on like this way for 70 years, as a matter of fact. And that's where you put a big blob of grease in your hand and you take the bearing and you scrape it and you pack that bearing. You smear a little grease on a seal and you put a hub together, and that's how we've always done it. I'm going to show you an invention that we have where we modified it to where you don't have to take it apart. You don't have to remove the wheels. All you do is just grease it from the outside with a normal grease gun, and you can pack your bearings and pack your spindle shaft bushing all at once without taking it apart. A 16-hour job can be done in 10 minutes. Here's the spindle right here, and on this spindle you'll notice that we have a couple of recesses in the back. One of them I've already fitted an O-ring into so you can see what the recesses are for. On your yoke, on your truck, and what the yoke is it's the part of your truck that actually does the steering. It makes it so you can turn it back and forth. This bolts to your yoke. This O-ring is to seal this spindle to that yoke. On the back side of the yoke, on one side, like this side here, you're going to have a grease fitting on the back side that you can get to with easy access. On the other side, you're going to have a pressure relief fitting that you'll be able to see. And what you do is you pump grease in through here on the back side of that yoke, and it'll come out the pressure relief, and then you've packed your bearings and you've greased that spindle shaft bushing that's in here. Now, this hole here, if you notice, it's got a hole right down here. I hope you can see that. Anyway, that is, your seal sits right here in this area right here, and that seal is what seals your axle. This is your axle right here. It seals your axle into this bushing right here, and that hole does not interfere with your seal in any way, shape, or form. You want that to be open so that the grease can get out and get out of here. Now this hole, on the other hand, comes in right here, and there's a groove right here. The hole is right in the center, and then the groove comes up to the edge. This is where your seal rides right here. This is where your inner bearing rides, and this is where your outer bearing rides. And I got this here where you have the inner seal, you have the inner bearing, and you have the outer bearing. This is the axle in place, and this right here is your end cap that is bolted to your hub that would be sitting in this position. We can't have the hub on here, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see all of this stuff here. Anyway, when you pump the grease in through here, it comes in between that bearing and gets up to where this seal is at. Okay, we're going to go over to this other one now. Now, it'll come in from behind the bearing. The bearing sits flush up against that flange here. And it'll come up against that bearing and fill up this area right in here. It'll fill up that area to where you have a wall of grease here. And what we've created here, it actually is an onboard bearing packer. You're pumping the grease in, it fills up this area, it takes the path of least resistance, then it starts coming through the bearing. It comes through the bearing, and your hub is sitting right here. It fills up your hub. It fills up your hub with grease. When it finally fills the hub with grease, it gets to the outer bearing and comes out this outer bearing. Then it travels across here, and let me show you this one more time. This is the inlet where the axle will be coming through. This plate over here will be right over the end here, and the grease will round the corner and go in here. It's not sealed or anything like that. The grease will come in and go around this corner, travel all the way down that axle shaft, and it'll get down to the back side here where you remember where I showed you where that first hole was for the pressure relief. It piles up against that seal, and when it piles up against that seal, it creates another wall of grease before it comes out the pressure relief. Now, with this system here, a lot of people have said to me, well, that's too much grease. Well, that's the reason why we have the pressure relief on there. The pressure relief is on there so that too much grease will cause a problem with heating. And I've tested this to where the temperature has been anywhere from 117 degrees to 139 degrees once it's packed. And when it settles down to around 98 to 100 degrees with an ambient temperature of 95 degrees. So it's really not negligible. I use Kendall super blue grease in it, which has a 350 degree drip point in it, so it really doesn't make any difference as far as the grease goes. But anyway, as this thing generates heat, as it spins down the road, its centrifugal force pushes that grease this way, pushes it through here, pushes it down the axle shaft, and pushes it out to pressure relief. When it finds its happy spot, when it quits pushing out the grease, which is usually right around a third of a tube of grease, it's done. Now your temperatures drop, and this thing is ready to go. I mean, it doesn't take very long to do that. Usually it occurs within 50 miles. Anyway, this will save you a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of downtime. Just to do one of these spindles alone, if you were to do that major damage, it'd be anywhere from $3,500 to $7,200 major damage on this stuff. And you can save so much money by installing this doggone thing into your truck. And like I said, as far as the safety aspect, not having to take off a 200-pound tire or a 90-pound brake drum, that's another thing. You're reducing risk to your employees. I recommend this thing, not just because I invented it, because it really works. It's been tested out in the field, and it really works. Anyway, you can read more about it on Courtsara.com, and I look forward to doing business with you. You have a great day. Thank you.